Monday here on the show for our Phillies taking a huge series victory at the bank over the New York Mets, who were trying to scrap and crawl and get their way back into the NL East race. The Phillies shut the door on them for right now. They say no. They go up 9 games on the division. The magic number to clinch the NL East is down to 5 with 13 games remaining. We're going to be talking about that series a little later on in the show. But first, we have a huge Monday night football matchup here in South Philly at the Link as Kirk Cousins and the Falcons come to town. Jason Kelsey will be there with ESPN. Fletcher Cox will be around. Nick Foles being honored at the stadium. That place is going to be electric. We're going to be breaking this game down for you guys, previewing it all morning, as well as live on the DSM pregame live show later tonight. If you guys don't already, if you are watching on Twitter, if you are watching in replay form, make sure to do us a favor. Check out the YouTube channel specifically. It is the best and only spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here with us. But subscribe, follow, share, like, whatever you guys got to do to help yourselves out and help us out. I'm one half of your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Victory Monday, brother. We're looking for a victory Tuesday tomorrow as well. How are you feeling?
It's a great way to put it, man. Yes, this is going to be a big game tonight. Obviously, the Phillies sent us off right out of the weekend. They took care of us this weekend. It wasn't looking great, about halfway through Saturday, getting into Saturday evening. Things weren't looking great for the Fightins against the Mets in that series, but nonetheless, they take care of business, get the comeback win on Saturday, and then the late rally yesterday to get the win with the walk-off. So, yeah, man, big excitement if you're a Phillies fan right now. Obviously, we're excited here. And I think it is important, to keep them relevant throughout the start of this football season, especially on our show, because it is a Philly-based show. And it's easy to get caught up in just strictly talking NFL, because I know a lot of people just like us are huge NFL fans. But that's what we have Turf Talk for. So that, we want to balance it out and make sure we keep all of the Philly teams involved here. And the Phillies deserve that, rightfully, man. They're balling right now. Last I checked, I checked this out this morning, 16-6 since that series loss in August against the Atlanta Braves, August 22nd. They've won or they tied one series, right? 2-2 in one of those series. I think it was the Marlins.
Miami,
and then every other series they have been able to win so far. So
against some pretty good teams too, Scotty. Remember, they can't beat good teams. Well,
in Kansas City,
Kansas City, they beat the Astros, beat the Braves,
Blue Jays in Toronto,
beat the Mets. They just keep stacking up wins, stacking up series wins. Now they are the first team in the MLB to 90 wins this season. I believe they still stand at a 2-game lead over the LA Dodgers for the number 1 overall seed in the National League. They now have a 9-game lead over the Braves and the Mets for the NL East. Like I said, the magic number down to 5, 13 games remaining for the Phillies. And Red October is right around the corner. I texted you this yesterday, man, because obviously, like you said, it's so easy to get caught up in football season, early on when it's back, it's fresh, it's new, it's exciting. Even though the Eagles play tonight, we sit down and we watch Red Zone all day. We gamble, we pay attention to our fantasy teams, etc. But the Phillies played a game yesterday at the bank at 1:30, and I turned it on later on in the game. They were down 1-0. I watched the rally. Obviously, I watched the rally on Saturday with Cal Stevenson, obviously coming out with a 2-run double and then saving the game over the center field wall with robbing a home run. Buddy Kennedy comes through yesterday. Weston Wilson's been stepping up. And bullpen. It's just Red October it's right here.
It's coming.
Dude. Like that feeling, I don't even know how to explain it, but it could, even though we're inside, I'm in the air conditioning and it was nice out this weekend. It wasn't like a cool fall, weekend or anything yet. Just even watching the broadcast, like the afternoon games, it just felt like playoff baseball. The atmosphere was very playoff-like, and obviously the comebacks and the explosions down there. Man, it's very easy to get caught up in football, but the Phillies. the Phillies are rolling right now.
I wanted to share this with you and the viewers because I was at our buddy Parcero's wedding over the weekend. Congrats to them, by the way. Had a great time, but while I was there, man, I got the opportunity to meet several Mets fans. Weirdly enough, at this Philly wedding, right?
Interesting.
I'd say a bunch of Mets fans. It was about 3 different Mets fans that I ran into, but they made sure that I knew that they were Mets fans. So
that's
very
3 too
confident
many at
at
the
the time,
Parcero
man.
wedding.
Yeah, it was a little odd at my man Parcero's wedding, but he's got some friends from the New York area, different family, whatnot. But the reason I bring this up is because you think Mets fans, Phillies fans, you think beef, you think arguing, you think I'm better than you,
Cool
pissing contest. No, it wasn't even like that, man. Talking to these Mets fans, it was funny how much respect they actually had for the Philadelphia Phillies. And I asked each of them, to kind of give me their favorite from each conference, right? Who do they think is going to make it to the World Series? Who do they think is going to win? And each of them did say that they feel like it's the Phillies' year. So even from the reason I point this out, from a rival fan perspective, that whole month of July, right? June, July, and a little bit into August, the perspective from a rival fan base is that we're the favorite. So, and it should be that way. That's why I pointed out, just to kind of bring it back home for Phillies fans, you can be very confident in your team going into the postseason because there's other fan bases that are fairly confident in our favorite team as well. So,
it's just
once again, reassuring as we
bases, especially a New York fan base that is just as passionate as us and just as crazy as us sometimes. Go through the same thing and understand that that's just how things go. I mean, the Mets were one of the worst teams in baseball for the first month and a half of the season. Heading into June, they were way, way, way out of the divisional race, and then they went on a streak. Lindor's in the MVP conversation, and they fight their way back into this thing. They actually take over the Braves. They're still in it to potentially get that third and final wild card spot. So we'll see, man. We'll see if the Mets can crack into the playoffs or the Braves get that spot.
Yes, sir. Let's check these comments. We got a couple to go through here. Yeah, man, I don't know where Marshawn, he just wakes up with these comparisons. I guess pretty much anybody light skinned with longer hair.
I think he's got just a list for you, and he just gives one out every day.
One every show. I appreciate it though. It's creative. Gets me thinking. I'm gonna try some different hairstyles on here, man. Keep coming back. My man Darius is checking in that NFL action. We were so wrong on Turf Talk.
Listen to me. And this can kind of transition us into this Eagles game tonight.
Oh, man.
Forward. Because like you said, look at Darius' comments. That's how wrapped up you get in a football season, right? Especially early on. We didn't get anything. We got one. We got one prediction right yesterday, and it was by the skin of our teeth. The Jets score a touchdown late into the fourth quarter. They allow Will Levis and the Titans to drive down and get first and goal just inside the 10 with 30 seconds or less left. Looking like that could have been forcing overtime, or the Titans probably would have went for 2 if they would have scored. But the Jets defense holds on. That's the only game we got right. It was the weirdest Sunday, and I don't think I'm exaggerating this. I'd have to go back and check and look. It was the weirdest Sunday I can remember in a long time. The books made out like bandits. We got absolutely wrecked, but it wasn't just us, man. It wasn't just, the 2 games that we thought were locked in and our best bet got killed, but the rest of the slate was pretty normal. No.
The entire
every single game was off. The Niners lose outright in Minnesota to Sam Darnold. The Ravens
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
In overtime.
Sam Darnold. I mean, make it make sense.
Bro, I don't even think that's the worst one. The Ravens losing at home to the Raiders is the worst one of the week.
Already being 0-1.
Yeah, 0-2.
You're 0-2 now in the AFC North, right?
The Lions -7.5 lose outright at home to Baker and the Bucks. That under was set at 51, 52. People see those 2 offenses all high scoring. The under cruises. The Rams get blown out. I know that was a pick'em game, but the losing 41 to 10 or however that game finished was absurd. What am I missing? I feel like I'm missing at least a game here that I can't remember. We got the Ravens, we got the Lions, we got the Niners. New England takes Seattle to overtime. The over
Packers,
hits. The
Packers and the
Malik
Colts.
Willis.
Yeah.
Beats the Colts at home. Oh, and by the way, to Darius's first comment, the Cowboys get routed by Derek Carr and the Saints at home.
Kamara.
Who's
Alvin Kamara, Derek Carr. Like who's leading the way right now?
What is happening? So literally, the Chiefs win, but don't cover, dude. Every single thing that happened yesterday
and the Chargers
favored the books.
Now the Chargers do their job though.
Right.
They do their job. The one that I didn't have confidence in, they get it done. They blow out the Panthers. The Panthers are that bad. That's what we found out yesterday. But yeah, I'm with you. The only game that went kind of to a T was that Steelers-Broncos game, I feel.
Low scoring defense. Steelers defense made more plays. They were able to score.
The under hit. That was the only one that kind of went according to plan. And if you're like me, I'm not touching that game.
No.
So that was not a win for me. No. So yeah, that was brutal, man.
Dude, the Commanders won a game where they kicked 7 field goals. We've now had
7 field goals and the Giants kickers injured.
We've now had 2 weeks of football where a team has won a game by kicking only field goals. The Steelers won week 1 by kicking 6 field goals, and now the Commanders win a game. They scored 21. You'd look at that box score and go, oh, wow, who scored a touchdown for them? Oh, wait a second. They kicked 7 effing field goals.
Yeah.
Never mind. And like you said, Graham Gano goes down. The Giants have to go for 2-point conversions every time. Don't get any of them. They only lose by 3. The Giants didn't even play bad. Daniel Jones, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, played better. Like, they played a fine game and still lost because of a special teams injury. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I don't understand, man. Marshawn says, who's on panic watch more, Ravens or Bengals?
I mean, after this week, it's the Ravens. Like I know that sounds great. They both lost to the Chiefs, and both have a really bad loss on their resume so far. They're both 0-2. It shouldn't matter how tight you play the Chiefs. They both played them really tight. The Ravens missed by a toe. Yeah. The Bengals had a 4th and 16. Both could have and should have possibly won those ball games. They didn't. But at least with the Bengals, as of right now, I know I was way out on them after the New England game, but Burrow looked like Burrow for the most part yesterday. Yeah. That wrist or hand didn't seem to be an issue. Chase hasn't gotten it going at all. T. Higgins will come back, so you feel like that for them. The Ravens, dude.
Where do they go?
It's the same thing. It's the receiving core. What are they going to do all year long? And what are they going to do come crunch time in the postseason?
And how many points did they give up yesterday? 26 to the Raiders. I mean,
I know, dude. That's about. I mean, Scotty, on the pregame show, I said I don't think they'd go above 13 or 14.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that the Ravens defense is like taking a step back just yet, but something to keep your eye on, honestly, moving forward. If that defense is changing, obviously you lose Patrick Queen. He goes to a division rival. The Steelers defense looks excellent, right? Maybe that's a bigger hole than what we're missing. Because my one buddy, Nick, shout out to Nick out there. He's a Ravens fan. He texted our Dynasty group chat and was saying that basically the Ravens couldn't stop the run yesterday. So that's
you want to know who couldn't stop the goddamn run yesterday? Yeah. The Indianapolis Colts, who we both bet on and I had as my best bet of the week. Scotty, I don't know what they finished with. I didn't go back and look this morning, but I was, I had the red zone on and I was flipping back and forth with the Saints game in Dallas. But I'm paying attention on my phone to the Packers and Colts drives. With 12 minutes to go in the first half, the Green Bay Packers had 188 rushing yards. 188 rushing yards in 18 minutes of football. That is so disgusting. And that's another thing. I know we're going to get into the Eagles. I know we got to move on. But just talking about this slate yesterday, dude, I texted you this, and maybe I am just incredibly salty that he lost me money, and I put my stamp on this one as my favorite bet of the day and of the year so far. But Anthony Richardson bothers me, and I'm almost getting to the point. I don't care if it's still super young in his career and only 2 weeks in. I'm getting to the point where I'm getting tired of seeing the craze over the one big throw or two big throws he makes, because he just hasn't been good this year at all. Dude, week 1, he took the Texans to the wire. I get it. He threw 9 completions, 9 for 19.
You got your Richardson hater cap on this morning, man.
Dude,
you can celebrate young players' big plays, Dylan. Come on, they can have some fun there. I feel you though. He was horrible yesterday and wasn't elite. As it was presented, it feels from week 1, right? I do agree with you overall. I think his hype train. But I just think it's something in this like new era where you win a game or you get close to winning a game, you have a good performance, and now you're the next.
And I said this to you yesterday too. By the way, again, maybe I am just in a craze right now because they were both. I had them for anytime touchdowns. Like Shane Steichen, what are you doing? You lost by 6. You were never really out of this game. Yeah. Anthony Richardson threw the ball 34 times. Jonathan Taylor averaged 8.6 yards per carry. You ran the ball 12 times to him. Jonathan Taylor had 12 for $103. You were never out of the game. Where did Jonathan Taylor go? You just didn't give him the ball. The Browns, I had Jerome Ford for an anytime touchdown. Deontay Foreman gets double the carries and more than double the snaps.
The books were out yesterday. The books were out collecting yesterday.
Jerome Ford averaged 9 yards a carry yesterday on 7 carries. Deontay Foreman averaged 3 on 14 carries, and they just kept playing Deontay Foreman. They got the ball to the 1 yard line, didn't have Jerome Ford in, and ran a QB sneak with Deshaun Watson, a QB draw. Dude, what happened yesterday? I got smoked. I got smoked all week, and that's the moral of the story. I went 0-2 Friday night. I went like 3-7 Saturday, and I went like 2-8 yesterday. So, I mean, I might just thanks, Skint. Thanks for the little just twisting of the knife right now. Thanks for that.
We were trying, man.
Thanks. Yeah, no, sure it was. Second half, they scored 6 combined points.
You think these two teams with all these weapons and DJ Moore and Nico Collins and Joe Mixon and all of DeAndre Swift come out and maybe just score some points, get some touchdowns. And that's what I texted you last night. I know I'm being like overly critical. I probably got my hater cap on for the Texans right now, but it just feels like their offense should be more explosive.
Yeah. Well, first of all,
is that not wrong to say? Like,
yeah,
I don't know,
dude. The flags were absolutely. There were over 20 total penalties at one point. I think in like early in the third quarter, there were 18 total flags.
Not for that hip drop tackle though.
Not for the hip drop tackle that takes Joe Mixon out of the game. But dude, that was just such an ugly game. Neither team could run the ball. Literally, neither offensive line could get an inch of movement, an inch of push. Yeah. Both DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon were getting hit at the line of scrimmage.
Caleb's going to get killed out there, man.
I have a question.
Killed out there.
I know their offensive line stinks. Obviously, Caleb's running for his life. Do they have a vertical passing game or no? I was about to text you this at one point, and then they actually threw it downfield, and he threw a pick. So I was like, God, let me hold off on this one. But dude, I swear to God, they dropped Caleb Williams back like 8 times in a row, and immediately he dropped back and threw a swing route to the running back every play. They didn't throw the ball over the middle of the field. They didn't throw the ball more than 5 yards through the air. They didn't do anything. It was just Cole Kmet for 3 yards or DeAndre Swift for 2 yards. Nothing else.
I think that offensive line is really just starting to wear on him, maybe mentally too, right? Where he thinks he's, he doesn't have enough time, or maybe he has less time than what he thinks. But man, the Bears just find miraculous ways to like destroy QB's like mental confidence. Like,
by the way,
amazing to see. It's quite astonishing, man. But
something to keep an eye on. But so no, he hasn't. It was a rushing touchdown, I believe. Was it Khalil Herbert that got in last night? Right before halftime.
Yes.
So he hasn't thrown one yet. But even further than that, Scotty, don't forget the Bears killed our over in week 1 by 2 points with the Titans by not scoring an offensive touchdown in that one either.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the Bears totals are 0-2 on the over this year so far. So
that's a great point.
Let's
We're gonna
keep
have
an
to
eye
stay
on
away
that
from
trend
that
and
for a
on that
little.
offense because
Yeah.
my goodness, they
Yeah.
are frustrating to watch.
Oh man. Yeah. See that's why you can't watch ESPN. You just got to watch podcasts, right? Because they'll tell you stuff like that, man. Roma Dunze, like that. Yeah, come on. Let's see him in the NFL first. Yeah, TR. Them Cowboys. Look, I'm not talking too much shit on the Cowboys just yet, okay? Because we do play the Saints next week, and we still got a game to win this week. But how about them goddamn Cowboys, man? Because that was incredible to watch. 44 points to the Saints, 5 touchdowns for Kamara. Derek Carr probably leading the MVP race right now. I don't know.
He's up in it. He's right there with it.
Wow. Yeah. Rashid, what's his name? Rashid Shaheed.
Oh yeah,
that boy moves too, man. He's fast. Yeah. So they're looking good. I did see before we got on here, man. Just since we're going around the NFL, with an update. Isaiah Pacheco just went on IR as well, man. So the IR is filling up across the league as well. Yeah, Marsh.
CMC.
5 of them things.
Jetta's got hurt and helped off yesterday, but he said he doesn't plan on missing any time. I have George Kittle in fantasy. I didn't see it. Apparently, no one saw it. They didn't even George Kittle got carted off yesterday. I saw Adam Schefter tweet. Yeah,
really?
Adam Schefter tweeted it. Scott Hansen brought it up on the Red Zone that they didn't catch it, but someone had shared the information. But I haven't seen anything else on a George Kittle injury. I mean, maybe he shit his pants and just had to get carted. I have no idea. No clue if he finished the game, what happened with George Kittle. But so they're already down McCaffrey. If anything with Kittle happened, that's going to be something to keep an eye on. He came back. Oh, all right.
How do you get carted off and then come back?
He might have shit his pants, dude. He might have Paul Pierce wheelchair this bitch. He may
wheelchair. That one will never get old, man. Oh man, but yeah, yesterday was wild across the board. Justin Herbert, man. We're talking about Justin Herbert right here. I did not hear about this either. But the Chargers, man, look like it's the Panthers. So let me slow down a little bit. But they look competent, is what I'm trying to say. They've had, they're using J.K. Dobbins the right way, giving him his touches, getting him going. They look like they're doing the right thing. Quentin Johnston, the second-year wide receiver, had 2 tutties. Cramps.
Because he said it like twice already. And he's just apparently it was cramps. He did not.
You got to listen to Darius Moore in the comments, man. He was spot on with a lot of these things yesterday.
Darius, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't recall the other couple lines. I know you were on the Falcons plus 11.5 alt line, Cardinal. If your other 2 legs hit, I want to send you my sincerest apologies because I may have jinxed the fuck out of your parlay that you gave on Turf Talk yesterday. I don't know if your other 2 legs hit or not. I know you had Cardinals money line. We said no, that hit. I know you had Falcons tonight.
The Bengals, though. I thought Bengals
they lost. They lost, but
But did you only have them to cover, maybe?
No. It was money line. But I texted Scotty when it was 4th and 16 and said,
yes.
Yo, if the Bengals hold on, I wonder how Darius's parlay's looking. And then that happened. So if your other 2
were reading our text
and it was only coming down to the Falcons tonight.
Yeah, the sports books were reading our text, unfortunately. They saw Dylan texting me later in the day talking about Joe Mixon touchdown. Your stepdad apparently was one Joe Mixon touchdown away from like $500.
5 parlay, yeah.
And, the books read our text. They made the call, hip drop. Tackle, Mixon. Done.
Yeah. I mean, hey, the books even tried to feed us one, man. They did. I fell for it. Stephon Diggs or DJ Moore, anytime touchdown, get them both together. Oh, what they have, a combined 3 catches in the game. I mean, what the fuck? But anyway, 25 minutes in, that's your NFL update. We'll talk about
our
more We'll talk about it more on Turf Talk later in the week, but let's get into this Eagles game tonight. And that is one of the things to take away from yesterday, with two teams being 2-0 that are coming up on the schedule, that NFC South division. This Eagles schedule is looking, as of right now, a lot more difficult than we assumed before the year. We have to travel to New Orleans next week. Not looking ahead past today, but I'm just saying, have to travel to New Orleans. Just saw what they did to the Cowboys. They're 2-0. The week after that, go to Tampa for a playoff rematch.
Yeah.
You're seeing how Baker looks. Just won a huge game in Detroit. Schedule's more difficult than we thought, but it starts tonight. It starts with another NFC South team, with the Kirk Cousins led Atlanta Falcons. And I don't know how to feel about this one right now, man. I do, like you mentioned before the show to me, that you're seeing a lot of people are very positive about tonight's game. And I am. I do believe that the Eagles win this game. I do believe the Eagles are the much better team.
Yeah.
But there's little things within this one that are giving me a little bit cause for concern. Obviously, the biggest news, A.J. Brown out tonight, hamstring injury. They released that on Friday or Saturday? Saturday it was, I believe. So it's like,
how serious is that?
Yeah, that they already knew, or yesterday. I'm sorry, it was on Turf Talk when they announced it. So over 35 hours to go. How serious is it that they already knew he can't give this a go?
Yeah.
Don't try to do anything during warm-ups. So A.J. Brown out tonight. That's the biggest thing. We're going to talk about that, how the offense looks and should run tonight, on the importance for Jalen Hurts. But then defensively, right? I mean, Kirk Cousins turned the ball over a couple times last weekend against the Steelers at home. They only scored 10 points. Eagles pass rush was near non-existent against Jordan Love and the Packers. Can they get home tonight? I saw the comments from Martian about stopping the run. Bijan Robinson, biggest focal point of tonight's game probably.
Yeah.
So I'm confident that the Eagles win. The Eagles are the much better team. The Eagles are a little injured right now, and there are little things within this game that can keep the Falcons in it, I think, that I want to discuss with you today, man. But how are you feeling overall about this one as we are less than 12 hours away?
Yeah, man, I'll be honest. So I don't know if I'm superstitious or not. I don't know if I can call myself like a superstitious person, but yesterday, watching everything play out and just seeing how like wild everything really was yesterday. And maybe it wasn't wild. Maybe it's just wild from my perspective because I didn't understand the lines really going into
because we were wrong.
Right. The 49ers, the Cowboys, so on and so forth. It gives me a weird feeling, right? It gives me a weird feeling coming into this week. I was like, yeah, we're going to take care of business against the Falcons at home, the home opener, like the real home opener. We get back on our home field. Jalen had the 2 interceptions, got the W last week, so maybe he'll be a little bit better with the ball this week. Then you have the A.J. Brown injury, right? Friday, he goes out, and you're like, that's why we got Saquon. That's why we brought in Jahan Dotson. And then I just watched yesterday, and it just starts to give me this like weird feeling in the back of my stomach. So right now, to answer your question, I don't know which way I'm going in this game. And you know how hard it is for me to pick against the Eagles in most situations. Yeah, I'm in between right now, man. I'll have a better answer for you closer to game time on our pregame show. And I'm not doing this for views, I promise. I'm really undecided right now on how I feel about this game because there's something thrown out there on Twitter, and I wish I could give credit. I don't know exactly who tweeted it out, but apparently Jalen Hurts has never won a game without A.J. Brown since A.J. Brown has come to the Eagles. Now, there's only been a few games he's actually missed, but the point still stands, right? He's never won a game without A.J. Brown. So we saw what the offense looked like against the Bucs last year in the postseason without A.J. Brown. The defense is going to be completely focused around Smitty, right? Smitty and Goddard are going to have all the attention on them in the pass game. This is where Jahan Dotson, to Gen's point with his comment earlier, Jahan Dotson for 2 tutties. I don't know about that, but definitely more catches than what he had last week. Definitely more targets than last week. And I think that is going to be a big key tonight is him making himself available for Jalen. And Jalen trusting him as well, right? But the other guy is Saquon, right? That's the big dog that you brought in. And, the thing with Saquon that's so refreshing, I guess I didn't see it when I see Swift running behind their offensive line until I
Right.
see Saquon running behind it.
Right.
Because I watched Swift play last night, and I realize like why he is not as good as like what I think he is or what he could be, right? Talent wise, because he doesn't know how to pick a hole, man. He's gonna try to bounce outside every chance that he gets. He doesn't run upfield, and that's a problem, right? And so I didn't notice it until I watched Saquon last week. Then I watched Swift yesterday and last week for the Bears. Minimal, targets, touches, blah blah blah, but what I'm trying to say, Saquon is a different animal. We already knew that, right? He showed it last week against the Packers in Brazil. But I'm looking for it again tonight, man. I'm looking, can he be consistent with it, right? Now, when you definitely don't have your number one wide receiver, there's going to be a lot of production left there to be had. And I'm interested if Saquon can like really step up. Like, can he be this CMC level type of producer for the Eagles? Now, not asking for 2,000 scrimmage yards, man, but maybe 1,500, right? 400 receiving, 1,100 rushing. Like that's what I'm looking for from Saquon. And this is just another test tonight, right? Yeah. Because the Falcons did well against the Steelers run, respectively, right? Like Justin Fields, Najee Harris, is it Jalen Warren?
Jalen Warren. Yeah, they didn't run for much.
Got a solid rushing attack, and they held him in check. They didn't score touchdown. It's interesting. This is an intriguing matchup, though. It's a weird matchup. Bijan, he's interesting, man. Yeah. I'm intrigued on how they use him tonight.
Yeah, I'll get to the defense with you in a couple minutes, but the offense here is the story right now, and that's only because of the AJ injury. If AJ wasn't out tonight, our level of confidence would still be very high, even though it is a good Falcons defense. Obviously, you go out, they add Justin Simmons, they extend AJ Terrell, they bring in Matthew Judon. They're a very good defensive unit, right? They might have the best safety duo with Jesse Bates and Simmons now. We'll see how much of an air raid attack we have tonight, and that is going to lead into a key piece with Jalen Hurts protecting the football on the pregame show that we're going to discuss. Like that is a dangerous secondary. That is a secondary that's going to look to turn you over and force you into mistakes. And Jalen's got to be careful. But without AJ, it does come down to the new weapons, and that includes Jahan Dotson. And that includes Saquon Barkley. Obviously, I'll get to him in a second. But to Darius and Martian's comments, that includes Kellen Moore. And like you said, they maybe he hasn't won a game without AJ Brown, even if it is a small sample size. But that matters less when you have these extra weapons at your disposal, but B, have a play caller, have a coordinator that's going to have your back in this situation, that's going to help you out, that's going to put your guys and your skill position guys in advantages to create space and get them the ball and just do things by design. Whereas Brian Johnson had no plan. Nick Sirianni had no plan, man. It was just, throwing darts at the wall and just hoping you hit a bullseye, with one big play. Saquon Barkley. There's almost like a level of comfortability when it comes to him. And it's only been 1 week, right? But he's not a quarterback, so obviously it's more difficult. But he is a running back. He's not a receiver. And what I mean by that is we have an A.J. Brown. We have a Devontae Smith. But it can be difficult. There's ways to try to, as a defense, to take them away from you, to take them out of your game plan, to double and to do different things where it's not as simple and not as easy to get them the ball and have them come up with big plays for you. Where Saquon's right here, you can get Saquon Barkley the ball 25 to 30 times easily within this game tonight, and he can play a major factor. What I mean by the level of comfortability is you just feel like with him back there, with him with the ball in his hands, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why. I mean, I know why because he's great, but I understand that doesn't make a lot of sense for people, but I just feel, I almost feel like safe knowing I can give the ball to Saquon Barkley any given play and he can create a double-digit yard rush with no hole, with no help, with nothing.
I think the big thing with Saquon too, obviously he's an elite talent. He's better than what we've had recently, right? We know that. But last year we loved DeAndre Swift when he was used, right? But maybe, I don't know what it was last year with personnel. Maybe DeAndre Swift, one, isn't as good as we thought he was, which that could be the case very well, right? Saquon's going to be used, right? Like, we know that the ball is going to be in Saquon's hands. He's going to get most of the snaps. That's something that we just haven't seen recently in Philadelphia as well. So I think that also adds a layer of comfort because you know he's going to get a chance to get in a groove where other guys really didn't always get that opportunity with this offense.
And to your point, and to Marshall's point, we did. We 1000% did. And hell, the last 2 years, the Eagles have been A-okay, man. Miles Sanders in the Super Bowl year, 1,000-yard plus rusher. Last year, Swift, even with not being utilized the way we wanted him to be, still 1,000-plus yard rusher, goes out and gets paid. But there's a few things in here. Saquon Barkley is the best running back the Eagles have ever had. I know there's a number 25 that was here.
Man,
it's
Brian Westbrook too.
He's better than Westbrook. He's better than Westbrook. Westbrook gets the legend pass. Westbrook gets
better.
He's better than Brian Westbrook.
He's more talented.
Yeah. Shady's the closest one to me. It's him or Shady, but it's one game and he's already showing why he's going to be.
I need to see it more in an Eagles uniform before I can go that far. But I have a ton of respect for Westbrook and Shady, though.
He will be the best running back the Eagles ever had.
I can.
Secondly, it's this.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have any fear that he's going to disappear or they're not going to utilize him like they did with Swift and all that stuff before.
Can't afford
to. Howie's not paying that position top dollar for him not to be utilized the way he should be. That's why I'm not worried. It's not like, one game he does what he did in Sao Paulo, and then they come home and it's like, there's more Kenny Gainwell tonight, and they're throwing the ball 40 times. Like, no. Yeah. Saquon Barkley is going to probably rush 18 to 24 times tonight, and he's probably going to catch 3 or 4 passes out of the backfield, total around 25 total touches, if not a little bit more, and that's exactly what you want from him, and he'll create a bunch of big explosive plays off of it.
I did want to ask you this about Jalen, because I know you mentioned the turnovers earlier, and obviously it's going to be a main focal point going into tonight, but did yesterday make you feel just a little bit more comfortable with his week 1 performance? And the reason I ask that is because we've seen now Patrick Mahomes throw multiple interceptions in a game. We've seen CJ Stroud last week threw an interception or two. I don't remember if he threw one last night. Caleb Williams obviously threw a bunch last night. Across the board, I can't remember specifically right now. Brock Purdy had a couple interceptions yesterday. Like, across the board, Dak had a couple turnovers yesterday. Like, did it make you a little bit more comfortable? Because it did for me. It felt like yesterday was like week 1.
Scotty, I'll be honest, man. Even Sunday after our Friday night game of week 1 made me feel a little bit better because there hasn't been a quarterback that has really
outside of Derek
taking
Carr.
the reins outside of Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield, and Josh Allen looked great week 1. He didn't have to do too much in week 2.
He did have turnovers,
defense was all on him, right? So, it's literally like Derek Carr and Baker Mayfield are the two running away, with it right now. It does make me feel a lot better because it's not like, because if everybody else was performing, right? If Jalen, if Patty was performing and Allen and Burrow and Lamar, right? If they were all performing at a high level, you can't really give me it was week 1 for Jalen. It's fresh. It's new. Well, why are all the other stars doing it? Right?
Yeah.
Why do they all look like in midseason form and Jalen doesn't? No. They're all turning the ball over. Others are losing games. Lamar and Burrow are 0-2, right? Like, those are things to keep an eye on. And it gives you confidence heading into tonight. And I think that's what Jalen needs. Dude, this is a difficult matchup, brother. Like, this pass rush for Atlanta and this secondary, I'd have to look around the league. This secondary is up there just in terms of talent, in terms of names, in terms of ball. AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, and Justin Simmons is a disgusting trio to have back there.
Yeah.
Jalen has to be careful tonight. You're missing number 11. You're missing your number 1 guy. He has to be better. He has to be careful. This is a humongous spot for Jalen Hurts.
I agree. How do we feel about Dallas Goedert tonight, man? Doesn't it, like, show like I'm like begging him, like,
Yeah.
show me something, man. Like, I know it's not always his fault. Like, he's just not always as involved as
Yeah.
he should be because of the weapons around him. But tonight, you're gonna have opportunities, man. He's another guy, like even more than Jahan Dotson. Like Dallas
Yeah.
Goedert needs to be a guy tonight.
Yeah,
I need
and
to see him
I
involved, and I
also
think
think
Kellen
it's
Moore will
interesting. There's
get
2
him
things. To me,
involved.
that Dallas Goedert is a scheme factor tonight for both
Yeah,
sides.
yeah,
And like your point, it's not always his fault because sometimes they just don't really look his way. They're not getting him
he's
going over the middle of the
blocking,
field, or
like,
Jalen's
yeah,
not going over the middle of the field, whatever. So it's a scheme from the Eagles. How much do they want to get him involved without AJ tonight? Can they utilize him? And on the other side, I already brought up that secondary. 2 safeties. You have not 1 but 2 options.
yeah,
Are one of those guys on Dallas Goedert, and how difficult is that matchup for him? Or
yeah,
can you get him in advantages where there's a linebacker on him, or if they're in zone, you can manipulate the zone over the middle of the field and find the soft spot for Dallas Goedert to sit down on. Those are things I'm looking for. Dallas Goedert is such a schematic advantage tonight for the Eagles if they can figure out how to get him open against this Falcons team. So yeah, man, I'm hoping for a big night because he's one of those guys you and I talked about before the season, not just as an Eagle, but when we were doing our top 10, player rankings and we got to tight ends, like Goddard has top 5, top 6 tight end
talent,
ability.
yeah,
He's one of the better, more athletic, bigger, sure-handed route running tight ends that this league has, right? He's just not always involved. Like,
yeah,
you'll get 3 catches for 28 yards one week. You'll get 5 catches for 60 and a touchdown. And you just never know what you're going to get from
yeah,
him. So
and
they have
that's
to scheme him open tonight.
that's why I asked because at the end of the day, and I know this was what Jalen's technically his rookie year. It was his second year. He got the full start,
Yeah.
and Dallas Goedert was that second guy, right? Like he was right after Smitty. Smitty was
Yeah.
number 1. It was arguable at the time. Like Smitty was still coming into his own, right? Like he wasn't even that guy just yet. But then it felt like we were missing something. It felt like we were missing AJ Brown, and we needed AJ Brown to complete our offense. So it does. It just takes me back. It makes me wonder about, how I've been gauging like Dallas Goedert and
Yeah.
his talent level and where he fits in the NFL as far as tight ends. So I'm begging
Yeah.
him to come
I
out.
mean, hey man, even when Ertz was on his way out, which is around that time frame that you're discussing, but when the
Yeah,
moment Dallas Goedert was drafted, it was Zach Ertz's replacement, and they would
yeah,
use the 2 tight end sets the first year, but you felt comfortable moving on from an Eagles legend, from a Super Bowl
yeah,
champion, the most receptions in Eagles in a season in Eagles history for Zach Ertz. You felt okay moving on from him at that point of his career because you had Dallas Goedert waiting and ready to take that step.
yeah,
He's had glimpses of taking that step, but he's never been. And again, maybe it is more so all the weapons they've really had since after that
injuries.
first year, injury, scheme, play call. Brian Johnson last year, Nick Sirianni. Maybe it is just a combination of all of that. But we need him to be a big factor tonight, man.
Yeah,
But
no, I completely agree, man.
I will say, to Gin's point, do I think, or I don't know what the odds are that Jahan Dotson sits at for 2+ touchdowns tonight. Jahan Dotson needs to be a factor tonight. And week 1, he's still getting acclimated last week. Obviously, still freshly new to the Eagles roster. Doesn't have a target, doesn't have a catch. That's fine. The Eagles offense put up big numbers. And when you have a guy like Jahan Dotson, and his speed on the field, he can be used as a decoy. He can be used as someone to take the defense's eyes away from some of your other weapons. And I think that's what you saw last Friday against the Packers. But tonight is the perfect example of what you and I discussed the moment the trade went down.
Yeah.
It gives you a little bit of breathing room. Can we afford to be without AJ? Can we afford to be without Smitty? No. Are you going to win a Super Bowl without either of those two? No. But in the regular season for a week or two, is Jahan Dotson good enough to step up and be a true wide receiver 2 for this team? Yes, without a doubt. Can he be a difference maker tonight? Yes, and here's why I look at Jahan Dotson. It's Saquon. Saquon, when we get to the pregame show, we're going to discuss Saquon a lot. Saquon's the guy you can give the ball to 25 to 30 times, like I already said. But in terms of the air attack, the receivers, the tight ends, it's Dotson for me tonight. Because do I think Smitty can take A.J. Terrell? Yeah, no, without a doubt. That's obviously a lot more difficult of a matchup. Those safeties, middle of the field, zone, Dallas Goedert, maybe one's following Saquon around out of the backfield. Okay. CB2. Who's on Jahan Dotson tonight? Who's getting that matchup? And can Dotson take advantage of that? And can Hurts get on the ball? That's my biggest kind of X factor tonight is, can Jahan Dotson take advantage of that maybe weakest link of the chain that Atlanta has in the secondary?
Yeah, and it's funny, man. As we talk through this, we've talked about Dotson, we've talked about Goddard, we talked about Barkley a little bit here. Are we like sleeping on Smitty?
I know.
You know, like
I know,
like we call him wide receiver 1B all the time.
Yeah,
he can get open against anyone. AJ
right.
Terrell.
And I sleeping on the fact that
Devontae
Smith,
you know what I mean,
have a great game against a great corner.
Yeah, exactly. But to be fair, he did go off against the Bucs, and we still lost by double digits in the postseason. Yeah. So I think that's why he kind of gets overlooked. He could have 100 receiving yards tonight. He could have a touchdown tonight, and we still lose if nobody else produces anything. Right. So I guess that's why the other guys kind of went first there. But yeah, I just wanted to throw Smitty into the convo because obviously he's going to be a huge focal point tonight. But yeah, just don't want to make sure we're not sleeping on him. I know we're not though. I got one pair of Yeezys, Marsha. I'm more of a Nike guy personally, so I got one pair of Yeezys. They're actually not up here. They're actually down in the basement. But yeah, and I'm drinking coffee, man. I saw you ask that a couple times. I meant to answer and keep forgetting. It's just some iced coffee for real.
Oh man,
but man, I am excited for tonight. Let's switch over to the defensive side of things, though. Like, where are you at defensively tonight? What's your concern, or what are you looking for?
Well, my concern is one of the things we saw or really didn't see from week one, and that is the pass rush, and something that Pittsburgh did so well against Kirk Cousins and was able to get to him and turn him over. I think they sacked him 6 times. TJ Watt had a strip sack that I think was taken back and then strip sacked him again. So the pass rush, what's it look like tonight? But the other thing with Atlanta is there is a reason that people were excited preseason with their projections of the Falcons and Kirk Cousins being the quarterback here now because of Drake London, because of Kyle Pitts, because of Bijan Robinson. And will those guys be matchup problems against the Eagles?
Yeah.
Will Kyle Pitts be a matchup problem tonight? You know, is Zach Bond taking that responsibility? Is CJ Gardner-Johnson taking that responsibility? We'll see. I feel okay with the Drake London matchup, whether it's Slay, whether it's Quinion. I'm not really all that worried about Drake London tonight. But Pitts over the middle of the field, that big body. They always give our linebackers fits. We know Nakobe Dean ain't fucking covering them. Yeah. I don't think Zach Bond's covered. To me, this is like a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson type of game for him. But then it comes to Bijan. And we saw a couple drives last week where the Packers literally ran the ball down our throats. They scored on a touchdown drive in like 5
Wasn't even
plays
Josh Jacobs.
Where the backup running back ran the ball.
Like it wasn't him
times,
all the time.
And then Jaden Reed ran a reverse and they scored from like the 25-yard line in like 4 or 5 plays. That's all they did. That can't happen tonight. Because the Falcons will then turn around and give Bijan Robinson the ball 28 times out of the backfield. And then that can become a problem.
Action.
You need to make Kirk Cousins throw the football. We know Kirk Cousins in primetime. We're 2-0 against him on primetime in week 2 of the last 2 seasons when he was with Minnesota. Thursday night football and then or Monday night football and then Thursday night football last year. Now we get him on Monday night football again this year with the Falcons. We know his resume on games after 1 o'clock and when the lights are brightest. He did not look mobile. I know he's not a mobile guy. He looked even less mobile coming off that injury last week. You have to be able to get pressure on him. Bijan Robinson cannot break this game open, man.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's obviously going to be key to victory. We'll dive into it tonight, but that's going to be the focal point of their offense. It's got to be the focal point of our defense. I was watching Ross Tucker on Twitter earlier. He put out a video with his prediction for the game. I think he picked the Eagles 24-20. And he was talking about our pass rush. We obviously need to get that going against the Falcons. But he mainly talked about how Kirk Cousins was basically looking like a statue in the pocket, man. So, yeah, you gotta crush that pocket, make it crumble, and get to him, and that's how you're gonna get the turnovers, and that's how you get really rolling as a full team is when you start getting turnovers, start helping the offense out, and that's what I'm looking for tonight. Something else to keep an eye on too. I'm looking at like Ray McLeod, and I know these aren't like these household names, right? Ray McLeod and Darnell Mooney, but the reason I'm keeping my eye on them in the passing game and those little end arounds is because we had to sit here and watch Jaden Reed run through our defense twice last week on 2 big plays. One being an end around and the other being, I believe it was just a catch across the middle where he burned CDJ after a missed tackle. Those guys, keep the speed in check, man. Don't give up the big plays. Don't bail the offense out. So while you have the focus on Bijan, right, stopping him consistently, let's not give them any easy big plays, right? That's how you give them confidence, and that's how their offense starts to get really rolling. So just another thing to keep an eye on tonight. Ray McLeod was actually their leading receiver in week 1. Drake London, 2 receptions, 15 yards, but obviously we know he's talented. You know, you don't want to sleep on him.
Right.
You don't want to sleep on Kyle Pitts.
Right,
you know,
but that's a matchup I'm going to take tonight for sure.
Yeah,
yes, we will
absolutely.
be live going more in depth about what we're talking about right now, these keys to victory, our predictions, our bets and stuff like that. I think we're going live a little earlier tonight, Scotty. I think what you said around 5:30 probably.
Yeah.
To get this one in before the game and give us plenty of time. Make sure we're not rushing in and cutting it too close to game time and kickoff later on in the night. So between 5 and 5:30, we'll be live on the YouTube and Twitter channel for the pregame show. But yeah, tune in for that one with us. We're not wrapping up yet. I'm just letting you guys know there's about 50 people watching us live right now. Less than 10 in the YouTube channel. Guys, do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Check out the YouTube channel. The link's in our link tree in the bio. Subscribe. It is the best and only spot to get your comments pulled up with us. So if you want to be interactive, if you want to drop your predictions or talk with us, check out the YouTube channel. Help us out. Help us get to our first 200 subs on the newer channel. But yeah, man, I think talking it out has me feeling a little bit better about this matchup because when you first get to the fact, when you first see AJ Brown out, oh no, what are we going to do? And then you sit back and you talk about it and you think about the Kellen Moore factor is going to play a huge role tonight, man. It's got that's going to be a huge difference. You're playing a very talented defense on the other side. You are injured. It may be the best player on your offense, the best football player on this team potentially in AJ Brown. How can you go help us win a game?
Yeah.
And I think that's what will put Kellen Moore's stamp on. Bookmark this now. Kellen Moore's performance tonight, if it's good, if the Eagles go and win a ball game and this offense hums without AJ Brown against that defense, that puts the stamp on this season for Kellen Moore. And this offense is going to be humming come October, come November, come December, because you're able to go out and put points on the board tonight like this. Yeah, my confidence level will be at an all-time high.
Yeah. And once again, coming out of yesterday, seeing some of these teams play yesterday, seeing some of the rust that some of these offenses still had, that offense can come out and perform tonight again, right? Like they put up points last week. They had the 3 turnovers, excuse me. Can they come out and compete again tonight, not look like the rest of the league? And all of a sudden you start to look closer to the Chiefs than the rest of the league, if that makes sense. So 49ers having a down spot right now. The Cowboys having a down spot this week. This is the Eagles' chance to garner some respect around the league, man. I know that's not what this is about. It's about winning a championship. It's not about, getting respect from other fans or getting into everyone's top 5 power rank. It's not about that. But at the same time, the chip is there on the shoulder. We do have a lot of confidence in our squad. And yeah, man, here I am. I'm like talking myself. I'm getting fired up. I'm talking myself into an Eagles W, man. I am. We talked it out during the show, but final prediction on the show tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, hey, man, they are 5.5 point favorites. The line is actually shifted up from where they opened at -4. They're about -240, -250 on the money line on books. I mean, they are a heavy home favorite tonight, even with the news of the AJ Brown injury and him being
fans
out.
already tailgating.
This game, they should. Fans been down there since 5:30 in the fucking morning, just standing in the street waiting for the gates don't open for how many more hours? Like they're just
I drove my wife to work this morning, and I'm like, what is there's hella traffic. I get it's Monday, people going to work, but like 6:30 in the morning, and
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, man, what if
Oh.
there's like half of these people are
No,
going
no,
to
no,
the
no, no.
Eagles game?
There's
But
no watch parties tonight. There is a pregame show between 5:30. We're going to be checking out. However, Martian, we've talked about doing this in the past, and maybe, just maybe, we will for one game this season. Me and Scotty
yeah,
get together, whoever else joins, and
watch it
B-Rabs up,
together.
whatever we do, we'll
See me
set the
freak
tripod
out.
up, we'll get the laptop up, and we'll watch the game live with you guys. I say things that are out of my control during the ups and downs of an Eagles season.
Yeah.
Not a season, of a game, I mean. Nothing bad, just some vulgar language towards another team, even in celebration.
Yeah.
There's a lot of language thrown around. And
Yeah.
I don't know. But hey, if the knuckleheads at Barstool can watch their teams together and live stream it and say all that shit,
Yeah.
I think we
Exactly.
can be okay with what we with
We'll just have to put our PG-13 caps on.
Yeah, until I'm about 14 beers deep on the stream and we're saying a lot of things, but
maybe ain't a no either, Martian.
yes, sir. Remember that.
Know that.
We just got to figure out what game we can get together for, and if we do want to plan this, we got to make it a game worth doing it for.
Yeah.
Right? We got to find that. If the Eagles were to play
Cowboys
the Panthers, I know we're not, but if they were to play the Panthers, I'm not live streaming that game. But if the Eagles, maybe the Ravens game, maybe the Bengals 425 game, that could be a spot where we try to do it. So
yeah, the Cowboys game, not a good idea. That's a vulgar game. But no. K-Dot over Wayne, Dylan. Martian's asking again in the comments, man. I will say there's Lil Wayne's little video he put out. That was lame as hell. It was so lame, man. But hey, Jay-Z made the decision. The NFL made the decision. That's out of our hands.
Scotty, you are inspiring me though. We may have to do the Cowboys Eagles stream together.
Yeah.
I think that could do numbers, and I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a lot of fun to do. Like Derry said, put the explicit tag on it. It's not made for children. I'm
trying to think, like, am I optimistic or pessimistic? Like, we're definitely gonna lose the game that we live stream, right? It's gonna happen, right? Like, it's gonna be the worst game ever to watch with the rest of you guys. Maybe that would be better though. Like, we can vent to each other, and you can see all the comments.
It might distract me a little bit more, right? Then
feel a little bit better about ourselves.
Then a possible
maybe we're not so
abnormal
abnormal.
Get me too, but yeah, man, we are going to be live tonight between 5:30 on the YouTube and Twitter page.
Yes,
breaking this one down more in depth, talking about our keys to victory, our best bets, and our game predictions. But to wrap it up, like Scotty, we opened the show with the Phillies magic number is down to 5. I know a lot of people are just juiced and amped for this game tonight, for football season in general. But if you're not a Philly sports fan, if you're not a Phillies fan, maybe this part of maybe the show just ain't for you. I'm not trying to push anyone away. This isn't just a football show. This isn't just an Eagles show.
The precursor.
We talk Phillies. Matvey Michkov looks incredible in his first Flyers appearance. We're going to be talking Flyers a little bit this season.
Yeah, wait till you see me talk hockey.
Talk puck, brother.
Talk some puck.
But the Phillies
gotta get the lingo down.
Yeah. The Phillies also have a big matchup tonight in Milwaukee, taking on the Brewers, who are currently sitting in that 3 seed, that 3 slot in the NL, and trying to fight upwards to get that first round bye in the 1 or 2 seed with the Phillies and Dodgers. Big series. They're on the road for these 3. Then they go on the road for 4 against the Mets. And then they come home. I believe it's the Cubs, and then on the road for the Nationals to wrap up the season. So you got to get through these next 7 games, man. Magic number down to 5. But you kind of mentioned it when you were explaining to me how you're talking with the Mets fans at the wedding, and how the outside and even a rival city and division team views us and the perception of us and being our year. And for a little bit, for a while, for a month, for 3 weeks, things were dim. Things were
Yeah.
not looking great. And even though I wasn't reacting as bad as everyone else, it sucked to watch. And you do go through these levels of concern. And you watch the slumps in the lineup at times, and you watch the bullpen start to take a back seat from where they were when they were named All-Stars. And you watch Ranger get injured and Nola implode and all this stuff. And you start to worry, like, man, are we going to have the same issues we've had the last 2 postseasons? And maybe we will. We're not there yet. We don't know. Maybe the worst is yet to come. I don't know. But this is a damn good fucking baseball team. And it's not just the fans. It's not just a big game on an afternoon on the weekend at the bank, 46,000 live there going nuts, a walk-off win. It's the recipe of an October run. And
tight games,
you just
pitching.
have so many guys stepping up for this team, man. Like, Buddy Kennedy, Cal, Weston Wilson, Christopher Sanchez continues to be lights out. Orion Kirkring has a better ERA than Mason Miller. I mean, what is happening right now? Carlos Estevez
Walker even gave you
out games.
Three clean innings on what was it, Saturday in the bullpen?
Yes.
Taijuan Walker having some
Every
success.
single person is stepping up. Alec Boehm has returned from injury. JT Realmuto returns not too long ago. Walks things off yesterday. Castellanos continues to be good. Bryce Harper's home run streak ended on Saturday, and not only does he get the first out of the way, he rips a 2-run shot to bring this team back 4-3 when they were down 4-0 early in this one. It just feels right. And I'm not the biggest. You're more of a vibes guy than me. You go feeling and how things are kind of going right now. Something is just clicking, and it's clicking at the perfect time. And yes, there's 13 games left, and we have 2-ish weeks until the regular season is over, and we finally get into the postseason. Hopefully, we're not playing in the wild card weekend, so that's a couple extra days that the Phillies will be off as well. So we have about probably 3-ish weeks till the postseason. But they're clicking at the right time, and they're on a run. Like you said, I think they're 16-5 in their last 21. They haven't lost a series since that Braves series way back before heading to Kansas City and taking on the Royals. They're beating really good teams. They're scoring 9 or 10 runs one game. They're winning games 2-1. They're coming back down 4-0. They're just winning every single type of way. And that's what you're going to need come October. There's going to be low-scoring games. There's going to be 3-2, 2-1 ball games. There's also going to be games where you're going to need to score 6 or 7 runs potentially to pull one out because your starter doesn't have it that day. And they've done it all year long, man.
Yeah.
I am so fucking juiced for this team to get to October.
I do. I agree with you, man. And throughout this, if you want to call it a stretch, it's really the whole season. Wins now. We can call it a stretch, like the last 21, 22 games, 16 wins. But I think the best part as well, you mentioned it, the whole team is coming through. But even in these big moments, like this weekend, it was JT, right? And you have Bryce with the 2 home runs on Saturday. It was Cass week before, right, with the walk-offs and all the action, and maybe Trey earlier this season. So like across the board, guys are stepping up.
Right.
It is fun to watch, and I think now that we have some time to reflect, that's why I brought it up at the beginning of the show. I think it's a good time to look back, right, as we look forward as well, and understand what this team has done. But this series against the Brewers is going to be huge up there in Milwaukee, obviously, and I believe the Phillies are 4 games up on the Brewers right now in the National League.
Let me just check for you real quick. It was 3 or 4. 4. Yes, 4.
Up 4 on them, 2 on the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you know what this series means. It's going to have a lot of implications, especially if you come out and lose the series, right? Even if you split this series, that's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the end of the world. So this is going to be a big one to kind of, see a test that could be in your near future in the postseason is what I'm trying to say.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Scotty, because it's something I think we mentioned last week on the show, and that was the 1 or 2 seed. And I know everyone just shoots for the 1 seed. We want the 1 seed. It's going to depend. It's going to depend what that matchup looks like compared to what you would get if you were the 2 seed. Both have a bye. You're not playing a 3-game set against anybody in the wild card round. But that 1 or 2 seed, it depends what the matchup looks like. And I think for those people out there, I think you would, if the bracket lays out this way, I think you want the 2 seed if you would want to get the winner of Milwaukee versus New York or Atlanta rather than the Padres Diamondbacks would be the 1 seed, I think. I could be wrong, but I think that is the case. And like you said, this is a big series, not only because you want to continue to win games and you want to stay in that 1 or 2 seed, and this is a team fighting with you. They're a good team. You're on the road. It's a good test for you. But also, if you can go to Milwaukee and take 2 of 3 or something like that and win this series, then again, like, how do you match up with them? Whereas you might see the Diamondbacks in a 5-game set who we've struggled with in the past, right? So that does matter. Also, a lot of people want the 1 seed. We want home field advantage. I thought about this a couple times, man. I do want the 1 seed. I'm not saying that, but how do you feel about the setup, though, Scotty? Because baseball is different. Remember that, and we've seen it in the World Series, and we've seen it in the NLD and the NLCS the last 2 years. When we were the road team and won, and we were the home team last year. Would you rather have the first 2 of a 7-game series at home and then go on the road for 3? Or would you rather go on the road for 2, try to split like we did with the Padres, like we did with Houston in the World Series, and then come home to the bank for 3? Now, you get later in the series, you do have to go. It would be at home for 6 and 7, whereas you'd be on the road. But I'm just thinking, like, that 3 it's different than the NBA and hockey where it's 2-2, 1-1-1. It's 2-3-2 in the MLB.
Yeah.
A lot of people want those first 2 games. I don't know, because you have to win those 2 games for my money in the NLCS and the world. And so I don't know. I'm indifferent on 1 or 2. To me, it's more about matchups. I do agree with Martian. I'm not scared of anybody, but matchups will matter.
You're saying you're saying you'd rather the Phillies be on the road the first 2 games. And I don't know.
But maybe that's short-sighted, though. But maybe that's short-sighted because
it's fair, though, because you're going to have your 2 best aces in those 2 away games as well, right? Where maybe your third guy is going to be better at home at the bank. He's going to be more confident, more calm.
The issue, though, is unless you plan on beating a team 4-1, you're going to have to go for at least a game 6, and then those game 6 and 7 would be at home. You know what I mean? So unless you're planning on sweeping or winning a gentleman's sweep, you're going to you would be coming back to the bank for at least a game 6 and then maybe a game 7. So I would take, I want 1 and 2 at home, but I don't think it's as clear cut as other leagues because you do have those 3.
Yeah, no, I feel that. It's a fair argument. Obviously, you don't want to lose games, so you go for the 1 seed, but it's a fair argument to be had, which setup is better. I think it's fair.
Listen, Martian, you can't knock me down a peg today, brother. I am flying high on the Eagles this year. I'm flying high on the Phillies. And guess what, dude? What's today? September.
You seen Paul George working out, boy?
September 16th. You're not getting a heartbreak from the Sixers this year. You're not getting one. They're going to be good,
man. We're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. We might go to the finals. We might win the championship, man. But Eastern Conference Finals is a success for the Philly or for the Sixers at this point. But I do agree with what Martian said earlier. You know, when it comes to the Phillies versus fill in the blank. I mean, it doesn't matter, honestly. I think it's more or less it's about the Phillies and them getting into Red October and playing and not on a cold streak, right? We've seen them go cold. And that's not to take the credit from teams like the Astros, from teams like the Diamondbacks who have beat them in the postseason. But when you sit there and you watch your top guys completely shit the bed, then it kind of reflects back on your own team. And that's kind of where I'm at.
They came home last year to the bank with a 3-2 series lead over a lesser talented team. And Bryce Harper didn't record a hit in game 6 or game 7.
Right.
I don't believe Trey Turner recorded a hit, or maybe he had 1 hit in game 6 and 7. Kyle Schwarber didn't record a hit in game 6 and 7. Like that again, if the stars don't show up, if those guys go cold, that's how they're not going to win a World Series this year. But I I think they're going to be okay, man. And here's why as well, Scotty. I think you have more consistency from the quote unquote unknowns
Yeah.
this year than you've had in years past. And again,
And the
things can change
bullpen's
over the next
better.
couple of weeks. Bullpen's better. You have more depth at the starting. Like Christopher Sanchez gives you more leverage. I know we're
Better
worried about
closer.
Ranger, but I mean, we'll see if he can turn things around. So you have more depth starting. The bullpen's a lot better. And the bats, right, man? Like, obviously you can't afford like Bryson Trey or Bryson Schwarber to go cold, but
Right.
at that same time that they were cold in the postseason last year and 2 years ago, Castellanos was cold. Well, Costy's been consistent. And at the same time, Stott was cold and Marsh was cold. I don't think you're going to get the entire lineup doing that this year.
Yeah.
And I know they're not big names, but Cody Clemens better and I think will make this playoff roster. And a guy like Cal Stevenson or like Weston Wilson can make this playoff roster. And if that's the case, they can come in late in the game and change the
Yeah.
tide, pinch hitting
They've
for
been
Rojas
difference
or
makers,
Stott or
man.
Marsh or something like that, man.
It's
So
actually crazy. Yeah. I mean, Cody Clemens especially just been difference makers. That's the best way I can describe them. They come up big in these little moments these little opportunities that they get. They make the most of them. So I'm with you there. But yeah,
So
I think that Philly pack is strong right now,
yeah.
Martian. It is. It's coming
I
on
will
strong,
say
man.
this too, Scotty, even though to kind of wrap up here, even though the rest of the league is good, like there are a lot of good teams, especially in the AL as well. When you look out there and you talk about the Yankees and the Guardians and the Orioles and the Astros, and you have
Yeah.
a young team like the Royals, and out here, obviously, you have the Dodgers who are loaded, even though they're a little banged up pitching, but they're loaded. You have us. The Padres are 20 games over 500. The
Yeah.
Diamondbacks are scary. The Braves, the Mets. The league's good,
Yeah.
but the Phillies are the first team to 90 wins. They have 13 games left. They would have to go 10-3 in those 13 to reach triple digits, to reach 100. And if they have to do that,
What does
everyone else is playing around the same amount of games. Maybe one team has 14 games left or whatever.
Yeah.
What do those teams like? This might be a year where not a single team reaches 100 wins. I have to go back. I'm not the biggest baseball savant. I don't have the best baseball memory. I don't really recall the last time that's happened over the last 5, 6, 7 years. The Astros have been a 109 win team. The Braves have been a 105, 106 win team. The Dodgers have been over 100. There's at least been a team or two that have cracked 104, 105 wins over the last, 7, 8 years. This year you might not get that. And what I'm trying to say is I think that just reinforces the idea of that rough stretch that everyone was so sad and mad at. Well, what happened to all the other teams? How are they not ahead of the Phillies then, guys?
Yeah.
If no other teams go through stuff like that, where's everybody else at in the standings and the record wise? So, yeah, think they'll be a-okay. Humongous victory Monday here for the Phillies, taking 2 out of 3 at home against the Mets, coming from behind in both, walking off on Sunday afternoon. The Eagles take on the Falcons tonight on Monday Night Football. Jason Kelsey will be there for NFL Countdown. Fletcher Cox will be around. Nick Foles being honored tonight. The link is going to be jumping in the home opener.
Yes, sir.
We'll be live around 5 p.m. tonight on the DSM-Media Philadelphia YouTube and Twitter channel for DSM pregame live, breaking that one down, giving you guys our official score predictions, our best bets, and more in-depth keys to victories. If you guys aren't already, over 50 of you hidden here for the live stream, check out our YouTube channel specifically. It's the best and only spot for you to comment and be interactive with us throughout the live stream. Make sure to subscribe, help yourself out, help us out. Have a great rest of your Monday and talk to you guys later. Go Phils and go Birds.
Go Birds.